How's it going, everybody? Oh, I gotta get that back on. There we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I was gonna stream a little earlier today, but had some writing we had to do. Today we're gonna work on some commissions for Patreon. Most likely a commission, if I'm lucky, two. We'll be streaming for about 2 hours, if I'm looking at the time right. Before we jump into that, I'm just going to come straight at you guys here. Please, if you guys are interested, please subscribe to my mailing list. Right on the screen there, you can see the link. It's bit.ly/jarmail. There's also a link in the description. Check that. If you guys are interested in following any of like a consolidated list of sort of like what I've been doing this month, the mailing list is going to go out once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Ideally, it's once a month, and it's just to get a little collaboration of all the work I've been doing, so you guys can be following that if you're interested. There's actually going to be a bunch of things going on in the shop coming this week. We're going to be doing some chibi work next week as well. I would like to round out Gloomhaven was the last open-ended chibi work that I had to do, and I've actually had, and the reason why I'm going to be jumping into that is I had a couple people just buy some prints, which has been awesome, and they're looking for the remainder of them, and I had forgotten, amongst everything that's going on, that still had three more to do, because I know some people like to buy sets and stuff. So we're going to be working on some of that, as well as doing some other things. But anyway, you can subscribe right here, and you'll be good to go. Also, when we do the Godslayer, when that comes out for crowdfunding, I'll be showing some of the process and stuff like that with that too. And yeah, so feel free to check that out. Okay, so Robinix, welcome. So today, one of the commissions that I was asked, and these are the best commissions, when somebody asks you to just draw what you want. Very rare that you get that, but I'm happy to oblige. I thought what we were going to do is, I wanted to show this just real quick. This isn't like a gloating thing at all. Patreon, I'm going to be making a post about this, hopefully later tonight, when I can get back to the computer, or over the weekend. And for those that have no idea what I'm going to start going into here with Godslayer, I'll be sharing a lot of the process with you guys here on YouTube and posting on social places as well. But Patreon is the place where I'm trying to focus for those that are interested in like the exact process and documentation of sort of like what's going on with the crowdfunding thing. Because in a lot of ways, it's my forefront into trying it out as well. So hoping not to fail, but if I do, that's great. It's a learning lesson, and I'll be able to share a lot of those bumps and stuff like that along the way. But anyway, there's a stack of note cards here. And what this is I wrapped this up today, just before lunch, and I've been working on it for about a week. And usually what this is, and I'll talk more about this on Patreon, but just briefly for you guys, without going into too much here, it's Doug Tenape will show me, or I saw a lot of his videos that he was showing how he writes plots and stuff. I did JESOP King the same way, and there's a lot of note cards. These are basically just plots. There's no real dialogue or anything in there. But what for me, this is a huge thing having this done now, because all that I need now is this tells me all the concept art that we're going to be making, the character designs that I'll need, and everything's just been holding and waiting until these are completed. This is the story. This is book one. There's no dialogue, like I said. That I usually write organically, and I'll show you guys that as we do stream in the future for this. But this is great because now what I can do is I just need to flesh out a couple scenes to get it to about the 48 page mark is what I'm looking at launching with, and then we go right into thumbnails, and then it's great. So just to sum it up, for those that are kind of playing along here, plots are done. Great, that's done. So now we get to actually move on to some artwork, which is great because I feel like I can't move on to art until the plots are done. Once the plots are done, that's like the skeleton to the story, right? And we can start putting the flesh and the blood and all the tears and all that good stuff into there. So progress is being made on there. There's been some actually huge changes, I would say, for me anyway. Whoops, I got different things here with character designs and all that kind of thing, and I'll be playing a lot of that with you guys. The main character's going through some changes and stuff like that as well. Lewis, welcome, man. Top of the afternoon, I know. Welcome. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, the reason I brought that up is I was going to do when somebody asks me to draw whatever I want to draw, I try to take that chance and opportunity to draw something of my own, like my own kind of character. Sometimes it's just a doodle of like, like a goblin or something, because those are always fun to do. But first and foremost, if somebody ever asks me, I ideally like to have a character of my own that I like to draw. And that's just for promotion and just to get people excited about something else, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with people asking me to draw other things. People like art, right? So we had Venom a couple weeks ago, that kind of stuff. And I was going to draw Alisander from Godslayer, but through finishing up the plots, the story kind of changed direction to where it's going. And I need to go back and design the character again. So if you guys, actually here, let me just bring this up for you guys. Let me see here. Godslayer. There's no real designs in here. In here. Yeah, where we kind of left off with him. Is it here? Oh, sorry. Let me open up my sketchbook here. You guys have seen me post this, and I had shared this with a few other people. This was one of the directions here. I would say this is most likely the final direction that we were going to go. But the story's changed in such a way where a little, I guess, spoiler, I wanted to make sure that I was adding more superhero elements to it. So it is a little darker. There's some stuff in there, but it's not too gory or anything. But we need to. He's got a whole redesign. Him, what he's doing, and his purpose, and who he is now. This doesn't work anymore. So we're going to be doing a lot of design work for that. And the reason I bring that up is, again, I wanted to draw him because I'd like to get as much buzz as I could coming out for a project that's upcoming, right? So people can start to be introduced to this character more and more. And sketching and commissions are a great way to do it. But the problem is, since we don't have a design for him, we need somebody else. And that's where I just went, okay, let's go with the big mustache guy. Rebecca, welcome. Good to see you here. So we're going to go back and do good old Jessup King. Get some big old muscles in here. Alright, so with these commissions too, and I hope this isn't sounding too pluggy, I guess. This is for like the $10 a month pledge. And you get a commission once a month with that. You get access to a file, like a high-res file if you wanted to print it out, all that kind of stuff. But it's not. Sometimes a little bit more elaborate. Sometimes it's just a simpler sketch. And I try to, in my mind, I call it hooking up people that have been supporting me for a while, or multiple months. I'm not in any way suggesting that $10 isn't a lot. But if somebody's been with me for like a few months, that's huge. A lot of people come and go on Patreon. If anybody here has a Patreon, you might know what I'm saying, or maybe it's just the luck I'm running into. So sometimes I'll do like a big full body kind of thing like that, and that's kind of what we're going to do today. So I'm going to put a little extra polish on this one. Trying to think like nothing too over the top here. Just something that's got like a little extra oomph to it. So I'm just going to try to figure out like some sort of something going on here. I posted this as well. I'll show you guys here. We did wrap up this guy. We had a stream for this D&D commission here where we went from thumbnail right to the roughs to the line art. And then I stopped. I did post a recorded video. If you guys want to check that out of me inking. And so Jessup King, like the pinup we're doing, will look something like this in the vein of that. And then we wrapped up the color. And guys, I'll tell you this, man. I was pumped about how this turned out. This solidified to me that Godslayer is going to go in this direction because I was messing with some stuff, and I'm sure we'll get here eventually. Maybe even today, most likely today. If I stop, running my mouth and draw more, we can get in here. But so I can step you guys through how I was kind of bringing this up. It's very similar to how we've been doing a bunch of stuff, but I figured out a nice way to get like this blur on everything, and then with messing with the levels, I can lighten it up. And I don't know, it just it clicked. It's great when you're doing projects and stuff and something just clicks. And, especially when you got a big comic that you're working on or something new coming up. It's nice to have those kinks out of the way. Hey, Lars, how's it going, man? What's the commission? I know there's always a delay, so I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself or not. But it's for somebody on Patreon. And they asked me to draw whatever I wanted to draw. So we're going to do good old Jessup. I want to make sure, playing of the strong suits here. And if we can have him with massive muscles, then we're already doing great. Maybe we just do Something more classic. Get a little dynamic kind of action here, like maybe he's... I always like this triangle composition. It was literally the same as that D&D one where it's like there's a rock and there's something there. Just it's very nice for a pinup. Maybe we can put like a little background behind him or something like that. All right, this one's got some check marks on it because that's looking pretty strong. Oh, thanks, Robinix. I appreciate that. Okay. Do you guys have ideas? Jam in the chat. Let me know. Like, is there something cool I could do? You think for Jessup King here? Maybe we could do. Maybe if we try maybe a little something more superhero-y, you know, like a heroic kind of thing. I always like the more heroic thing being just like somebody lifting up like an impossible amount of weight. It's crumbling or something like that. But then you need something down here to save, you know, like they're saving something. I don't know. Maybe we could do a... he's not saving somebody. Well, if he's a strong man, he could lift something. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Lifting stuff. Maybe we could do... If we try like a... sort of a down shot or something. So I asked a bunch of people on Twitter some recommendations. I'm thank you if you're in here and you're replying to my tweets, helping me out about this crowdfunding stuff, all the questions that I have. And we get a lot of feedback and interaction with people, which has been wonderful. And I think we're going to end up going with Kickstarter as opposed to Indiegogo. Just from the feedback I've been getting, it seems like it might be the right play. Tyler James, I hope you guys know him from Comics Tribe. He's got a lot of Kickstarter content too, which I'll be doing a deep dive into. He had a good tweet, or at least something a little bit more in perspective, and I think it was well timed, at least for me to hear or whatever. His suggestion was that if you are part of Comicsgate, Indiegogo is like I think he said no-brainer. And I agree. I think a lot of that is, if you are part of that movement, then there's a lot of people that want to see that movement succeed. So it's in everybody's interest to promote everybody, right? And for myself, I don't think I necessarily have anything wrong with that movement. I just don't like labeling... I don't like joining groups like that. I feel like it breaks up my individuality. And if the moment you're in a group, at least it's been my experience with stuff, something goes haywire or somebody does something or somebody says something that maybe you don't agree with, then you kind of have to go on damage control for a bit. And it's just like, I just want to make some comics, right? I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but group stuff is kind of that way. So that made me think, okay, well, I don't know. Then if I'm just going my own way, is it still better to go there? You know. And then I stumbled upon a video, and I shared it on Twitter of a guy who sounded very much like me in a lot of ways of his viewpoints on it. And he launched, I guess, the same book on both places just to test it himself. And he didn't affiliate himself with Comicsgate either. And I don't think he got anybody funding him on Indiegogo. And then he made his $2,000 goal on Kickstarter. So it was like, okay, all right. So I'm thinking, I'm leaning more towards there now. And then the next question that comes from that for me is like, okay, well, this 48 magical page number that I hear comes mostly from Comicsgate guys, and I'm wondering if the same rule applies to Kickstarter. So I was just looking around, and it looks like it doesn't even really matter. Because the philosophy I still agree with that I heard from Comicsgate, which is 48 pages is a nice round number. You can get some stretch goals, and if you meet them, then you could start adding more page count, which is cool. I like that a lot. But it gets that initial number down. Since I'm doing pretty much all the work, there's no money coming out of my pocket for the book, so all I need to cover is printing cost. So that gets how much it takes for the crowdfunding thing to get funded to start with, which means it's a lot easier to do. I think in that guy's example, he had like a $2,000 limit, and he was able to get through that pretty quickly. And then now in the algorithm of these platforms, you get a little push because now you've already succeeded. Now they want to just make some sick profit for everybody, right? Which makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. We're checking things out. We're looking at stuff. Hey Carl, how's it going? Strong up angle, done by the toes looking up. Okay, we can try that. Might be corny. Maybe he could rip a coronavirus apart. Yeah, I don't want to put any of that in there. Battling a big creature with picking him up. See, I don't want to go. So yeah, this is a $10 commission. So I have to keep boundaries in mind for myself because all these, like some of these that get real beefy, I agree with. But I still like to, and this is weird. I don't know if any of you guys really work like this, but if you offer like commissions for people, you have to be able to separate what $100 or a $200 commission looks like as opposed to a $10 commission. Does that make sense? Because I have had people on Patreon that, I only offer the $10 a month pledge, but people have reached out and asked for, could I get like a, something a little bit bigger, and then we can work something out there. So battling like more than one character, full body is about where I'm pushing it today, just because like I might just do the classic stuff again just because it'll keep us going. Let's just do it. Let's not second guess ourselves. Just doing this kind of stuff because it's a little bit better than just a bus sketch. And again, this is for somebody that's been supporting for a while. So I like to just send some juicier sketches every now and then to people. Hopefully to help them feel a little appreciated. I know it can get a little odd sometimes when you're just dealing with somebody on Patreon like myself. Okay, so maybe we'll just tilt it a little bit. What if we rotate it? Yeah, I kind of like that. All right. Lars. Sorry, Lewis, what were you saying? Battling a big creature, picking it. Okay, yeah. Same kind of thing, yeah. Hey, Euro, how's it going? Lars, so I followed your advice from the other day about starting my comic. Oh, awesome, dude. I tried to do the character design first, but it wasn't good. So I wanted to do some character descriptions instead, and that turned into plot points and overall story. Very satisfying. Right on, man. Cool. Okay, so what Lars was talking about the other day, what I had showed him, it was just a clip of me talking about a very fast way. Sort of like how I talked about Godslayer, right? At the beginning of the stream there. Very crudely talking about plots. Like as soon as I get this, I'm good. Then I can start drawing, because if you like a lot of us, we probably start with a character design that we've already drawn, and then you kind of maybe have an idea in your head of where you want to go. Sometimes like I'll have a design and I have no idea about the character's story, but it's a great starting point, and then I just do some rough plots, and then now those plots start turn into a story, and that story will tell you what character designs you need, right? Like from this, I have 2 more note cards here. Let me just grab these. Just quick little ones. So this tells me my cast. Like as I was writing it, okay, you got your hero, the bad guy, and then these guys came up organically through the plotting process, but I need designs for them. And then even while I was doing this, I started to come up with questions, right? And I'm not answering really at a lot of these, if any. Yeah, I've only got one here that I have to answer that I can figure out while I'm drawing. The rest, ideally, if the comic gets picked up, people like it, they want issue 2, then I can start addressing these things. But this is what I like about working in this way is I don't need to figure this stuff out. And it can be a little daunting because if, there's always that question like, well, if you don't figure it out, will the payoff be worth it and stuff? And I don't disagree with that. I think that's smart. If you're able to figure all that out before you start drawing, it's probably smart to do it. But even like I said when I was, and I'm happy for you, Lars. I'm glad you're getting some momentum there, brother. But like I've said before, for myself, I don't consider myself a writer. So I'm just trying to keep making stories, right? And then eventually, hopefully, some of this will stick, and I'll keep getting better at it. And then eventually, I'll start writing full scripts, or maybe I won't. You know, it's hard to say. But the intent in the beginning is just to keep moving. Just get. I feel like I can draw well enough to tell a comic book and a story. So that's where my strength is. I'm not a writer, right? So if the sooner I can get to drawing, that means I'm creating. That means I'm doing what I'm intending and setting my goals out to do. So I'm just trying to make sure I get to that ASAP. And I'm because I don't know. I'm assuming you guys have to be, or most of you are probably in the same boat. The longer I spend with scripts and script writing, the more I start world building. And then once world building kicks in, there's so many moving pieces there that it's so hard to break out of that sometimes. And then sometimes just doing the world building itself makes me not want to like do the book. It starts complicating it up, or it's all kinds of things. Okay, let me just flip that. Alright, I think what we're going to do here is we're just going to move this over because his arm is getting seriously crunched. Okay, let's just undo that and we'll move it over. There we go. We're getting some serious crunch on that hand. So how's it going now, Lars? Is it you still getting some progress now, man? Robinix, I think my main concern with using Indiegogo over Kickstarter is that if your campaign fails on Indiegogo, you'd have to initiate the refunds yourself. Kickstarter doesn't even charge. Yeah, I was reading some of that too, and naively, I'm not quite sure how all that stuff works. That's getting into the nitty gritty for sure. I guess my concern was more, why would people prefer going to one over the other? Like, there's people that are crowdfunding a lot. I've never even done it. I've been part of them, but I've never done it myself, right? So I have to imagine there's audiences, or there's reasons for people going places. For me, it was Kickstarter is just like the name brand. That's like the Nike of crowdfunding. You know, it's, whether or not it's the best, I don't know, but it's a brand name that most people have at least heard of. So when you go, hey guys, come check out my Kickstarter, people know what the hell you're roughly talking about. Indiegogo, I mean, I was talking to some people, and they have never even heard of it still, right? So it's like, okay, why? What's the missing thing here, or what does that matter? Is the comic audience that I'm hoping to hit, are they over there anyway, and it doesn't really matter, right? And I know most of it, if not all of it's going to come down to it's that hard work stuff where me and or you have to go out and you still have to earn people's time, right? You have to tell them why they need to go check out your thing. That's never going to change. So again, that goes in the other thing. And then at the end of the day, I kind of agreed with what Tyler was tweeting me about and saying, which is like, if you're part of Comicsgate, it makes sense because a lot of they're starting their own thing over there, and there's people that just help you market just because, right? And that's got a lot of strengths to it too. So, but yes, and then you say, and then I hear what like Robinix is saying too, which is great, right? If you're on Kickstarter, like, nobody gets charged anything unless it's successful. Whereas in Indiegogo, if that happens, apparently you have to start refunding people, which is never. I don't know. That just sounds like work, man. We don't want to work more than we have to. We're just making books, making comics. It's always fun drawing Jessup King again. Secretly, guys, little secrets for you. I know I gave that whole little like spiel in the beginning about why I'm drawing Jessup here, but in the back of my mind, like I know and I'll keep flashing this up here because I'm like, yeah, cool, look, it's just note cards with like sentences on it. But Godslayer issue 1 is done, cool. And if the crowdfunding stuff goes good, yeah, here let me take that back. Even if it doesn't go good, I'll have gathered enough data, learned a valuable lesson regardless, to go, am I going to come back and do another one, right? And if it, let's do some role playing here. So let's say it's successful, and I don't know what that means yet, right? But if it's successful, then it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing we're doing? Are we jumping right in to Godslayer 2? Most likely, right? You gotta ride that hype wagon. I know what that's all about. You want more of what you like. But I got some notebooks going here, and I'll just like doodle in them, whatever. What is going on with this anatomy? But I've got these notebooks going here for Jessup King, because I'm not done with this guy yet. Don't worry about that. I'm even really where my mind's at, though. Like why I haven't just gone in with Jessup King for my first book is the webcomic that's out there right now. You can read it for free. I don't ever want to change that. But the size and the format of it is it's not 11 by 17. It was formatted for like Instagram, really, or rectangle pages. So that's really turning me off from actually doing anything with it. And arguably too, I feel like I could have pushed maybe the comic a little faster and or went a different direction than it was. All that's to say is when we do get back to Jessup, we're going to be just starting sort of, I don't want to say fresh, like the webcomic that's on there, right, that you can read right now, it'll stay there. I'll still consider it canon, but maybe it was at a different time, like when they were a little younger or something like that. So there's still a lot of value here because, like I say, we are going to come back to this guy. This guy's not gone. I just like the design too much, and I have a lot of fun with this guy. All right, sorry. So as I'm drawing here, I'm thinking, why don't we just kind of Kirby this up a bit? Or not Kirby, that might not be the right way. What if we just like push this stuff a bit? Let's just get stupid. Right? Let's get some big old fat anatomy in here. Now we got to change his legs though. And actually, you know what? Let's duplicate this because we're going to do some manipulation here. I'm going to start moving some of this stuff around just to really push this. Let's try it up here. Let's see how this looks. I don't know what he would be coming at you like this with a fist for. Maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's take all this and let's just move it over. Make room for some more anatomy. Larry, sorry, you did reply. Thanks, man. Yeah, my main character changed quite a bit through the plot points. Right on. At first, I wanted to go with a kid like Goku, basically, but now he's more in his late teens because it fits the story better. I might continue writing before I begin the character designs. Going right on. I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad you're actually getting some momentum there. Denari, welcome. Can you show how to make an action for a knockout layer when you can take a character and your can you show how to make an action for a knock? Oh, like what? Yeah. Before I do that, Denari, are you talking about the knockout layer so that when you can take a character, you draw and fill it with white? Okay, yeah, sure. Here, let me turn this off. So, I mean, I don't want to show you how to make an action. There's got to be videos on YouTube for that. All you got to know, I guess, is when you do, you just like, where is it? Okay, you got to turn the button mode off. So it's just, right? Yeah. So it looks more like this. You don't want the button mode. And down here, you can click this thing, add new auto action. And what it'll do is you can name it whatever, and then there's a record button. So you hit the record button, do all the stuff that I'm going to show you, and then you hit stop. And then every time you go here and press play, or you can add a shortcut to this to turn it to an F key. I do that as well. Or lately, and this just comes from using the iPad, I just started going into here, just turn it into button mode, so I can just click it and it'll do it. just it's fast. I don't gotta worry about looking over here. So all you're doing with the knockout layer, okay, and I'll show you how I do it. So let's just say you got a face. I always do this with the face. Cool. All right. Now let's say you kind of scribbled it in like I like to scribble it. Now, what's not going to work here because we need to make a selection is you need to have, so there's no, you see there's a gap here. This should be fine, but we can't have gaps. So you kind of want to close it up. If you have a art style that's a little bit more gappy like this is a little bit more difficult to do. It's not impossible, but I'm just showing you how I do it quickly. And I'll show you why I try to fill these in, but you can still have an open line style when you ink as opposed to when you do line art. I don't mean to confuse you too much, but have it here. Then you click over here, go to your wand tool, and there's a whole bunch of different settings here. What you want to do is you want to be able to select just the thing you want to make a knockout layer for. So again, we're just doing a head. And I should have said if you weren't paying attention, this is on its own separate layer, the line art. Here, let me do this. This will be a little easier for you. Okay, I like to make a folder. We'll just call this hero. Okay, I'll make a layer. I'll try to do this as if we were actually drawing somebody, right? So let's say we got a guy. All right, I'll make a new layer because I wanted to like test out some hair. We're kind of drawing cloud all of a sudden. Sure, let's draw cloud. And then he's gonna have the big old Buster sword in the background. All right, the materia slots, cool. Okay, so if you look at this, let's all pretend this is amazing, right? Or at least your artwork. So if you look in this layer, it's all the hero layer, right? And I've been working in layers, so everything's kind of all over the place, which is fine. This is how we like to work, right? And so if I do what I'm about to do, I can't because there's all those gaps like I told you about, right? So when I'm ready to go, I just make a new layer, and I just quickly go through, and you'll see me do this today, or in previous videos. I just kind of go back and I tighten up the line art so that there's at least closures, right? Because we're making a marquee selection, right? And that's only going to go around the line art. So if line art stops, it's going to go inside that shape. And we don't want that, right? So we've got all these layers. I grab my wand tool. And again, like I say, there's a whole bunch of settings here. I have one. Let me bring this up. You can always change it when you go into from all layers is what I like to use usually. Down here to refer multiple layers, if you see this, it says all layers. So this is everything you see. And then in this one is layers and folder. I like generally using that one when I'm working on more complicated pieces because I like to group things, right? Like hero is in his own folder. So we're just going to bring that back down. And now when I select, it's going to look, and as you can see, all these marching dots are around there. The marquee is selected because we have a, what's it called? All the line art that was selected. So the next thing you'll do is you'll make a new layer, okay? And what I do, you can do whatever you want. This is where you go select inverse because we're going to, right now we have the outside, like all this stuff selected. We want to flip that, right? So we're just going to, where's it? Invert. So now it's everything inside. And what I like to do is I like to shrink that selection. Or actually, I think it's expand. Let me see. Expand. We'll go 2 pixels. Yeah, so now I can't zoom in anymore because oh, actually, hold on. So now, you see how we're inside the line art? This is what you want because sometimes you might get different line art effects where this won't show, and you want it to be under your line art anyway. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility, and I'll show you here, right? So now we have our selection. Normally what I do is that's where I just fill it white. So I'll select white and Alt backspace, whatever. Whoops, oh, I did it backwards. My apologies. Let me back up. Alright, so make a new layer. We're going to grab our wand tool, right? Let me actually pick green here just so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, okay, so we've got the background selected. We don't want that. So we're going to invert the selection, right? And then we're going to, yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. Expand by 2. Oh, no, sorry. Contract by 2. This is very simple, and how I'm explaining it is making it sound a lot more difficult, and I apologize. So this is what we want. So when it's inverted, your selection is like that, okay? So instead of green, pick white. And then you take that layer and you just put it at the bottom of all your line art. So now when I turn it off, you can't even tell what's going on. But what this lets us do is now when I select that whole folder, let's say I have 2 heroes, right? This is what you wanted to see, right? Like you can move it and it'll always block out the line art below. That's all it's doing. And then the powerful part, obviously, is now you can go down to that contour layer that you made, or that knockout layer, and then come up here and go to border, border effect, and edge color. We're gonna paint that black. You just fill it, and then now the thickness edge. This is what the sexy part is. Now you can start doing that, right? Now when you move it, it doesn't matter. But now this guy looks like he's in front of people. And I'm just going to show you what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So when we ink, right? When we ink, you can go in here and you can go like, maybe I want with white to make these lines a little sharper, right? Like this kind of thing. That's all you want to do. And like I said, like maybe you do have a little bit of an open line style, right? So if you just kind of do that, and it's still gonna move around. See what I'm saying? That's all you gotta do. Normally though, I don't ink like this. I'll have my own, like, I'll figure out all the contour layers and then it'll all be a flat image and then I'll ink over top. But that hopefully will shows you a little bit of, hopefully that makes sense. I can only imagine how difficult that was to listen to. Hopefully that answered your question, brother. Okay, let me catch up to you. Jack the Ripper. I haven't seen you in a long time, man. Welcome back. Have you thought about going the traditional route, finding a publisher like Image? No. Only because I'm in the belief that like the world's in a changing position right now, and I would argue, I guess it's what you want, right? Like, I would like to get as many eyes as I possibly can. Image might be the way to do it. I honestly don't know, but the benefit I would argue as well, and more research maybe needs to get done. I don't know, but when you do crowdfunding, it's just you. There's nobody else in there. There's no. I mean, with Image, I don't have a problem with Image. I think Image is great. But there's something to be said, and again, maybe I need to look up a little bit more because I can't give you a clear answer as to why I would prefer the crowdfunding thing. I suppose if you wanted to do things other than comics as well, like it's sort of like a mailing list in a way, right? Where it's if you pledge to something I create on Kickstarter, the next thing I make, which could be a sketchbook or something, right? That wouldn't work with Image, I don't think. You would get notified of that kind of thing, right? So you could start following me as I do crowdfunding things. That's pretty huge too. I don't have any right now any interest of doing such a thing, but just knowing that you possibly can is great, right? And yeah, there was a time definitely where I think Image would have been something I would have been interested in. But it's just, I don't know. I'm more interested in the crowdfunding thing. I don't know what Jessup's doing here, so we're just having some fun. What if he was, like, reaching out? Yeah, I think I like him reaching out instead of, like, Hulk smashing. So if we have his elbow here into here. Maybe do something like that with the hand. I don't know. I'll ask you guys too. I'll throw it out to you guys. What do you guys think of crowdfunding over Image? I also think too. Maybe another route to look at too is crowdfunding is to help you get funded, right? Where Image is you need the money up front, and it's more of a gamble, right? With crowdfunding, I can go, hey guys, I have this thing, I would like it printed and I'd like to share it with people. And if you all or whoever is interested in this thing, it's up to you guys to get it funded. That doesn't mean like that if it doesn't get funded that you'd have to just get rid of it. You know, you could totally start going to publishers and start shopping it around, right? I think it's just an avenue to go. You don't need money up front to necessarily make the book or make whatever you want to make. You can just have like a prototype, right? In my opinion, or at least what I'll be doing, is the book will be done. The book will be completed or very much close to done, like as close 5 pages or less, and it's done, right? Like depending on where in the month it falls, maybe we launch it a little early because you know you get a whole month to get that thing going, that kind of thing. But I'm very much of the mindset of it needs to be done before. But there's other people that pay, right? You might be the writer and you're the one fronting all the bills for everything. So you need a little extra cash. Whereas Image, they're not going to loan you anything. Yeah, this is better. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting there. Lee, how's it going? I like the way you draw anatomy. Did you learn it from Bridgman? Thanks. Bridgman, I studied Bridgman for sure. I guess it's part of this stuff, but what I would really say that I got my anatomy from is Capcom artists like Bengus, Joe Madureira, Ed McGuinness, big, bubbly, chunky, but Capcom in particular. And I don't really draw that well. I think I can hide it well, hide the anatomy well, but yeah. What are we doing with this arm back here, guys? What are we going to do? We got this gigantic shoulder, right? Because Jessup's got huge shoulders. Chris Jones, what's up, dude? Welcome in. Oh, hey, Chris, how's it going? Why don't you have a... And I'm pretty sure you don't, just based on your icon there. How come you don't have a YouTube channel, man? Guys, everybody right now, go follow Chris Jones Super Artist on Instagram. Check it out. We did this sick-ass commission. He knocked it out of the park. I just participated. Let me see here. Let me see if I can pull it up, brother. He's got a comic that he's working on, too. Do you have a title for it yet? I know it's Thor and Norse mythology, right? Yeah. Let me see. I know you sent me the file. I don't know if that's... I don't think you just sent me this. Doesn't matter. I'll open this one. Just in case I don't have... Yeah, maybe I didn't download the high-res one. But here's his character here, Thor. Look at this badass. I love this lightning. It's good stuff. And then I phoned it in with... he colored it too and knocked it out of the park like usual. Of Alessander. The design, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I know there's new people. We're changing the way he looks. The story's been altered. But still, it's nice to see this. It's I'll tell you guys this right now. If you got somebody that's doing fan art of your stuff, it's great. Even if they're coloring your work, it's something else, man. Sorry, let me just catch up with everybody. I'm rambling here. I'm nowhere going to be able to pronounce that name. 21, hello, sorry. Thank you, Lewis. Denari, thank you. You're welcome, man. I'm glad that helped you. Euro, oh man, I'm 12 hours in the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cloud is triggering me. Those are two completely different ways to get published. Yep, okay. Yeah, okay. So we got all kinds of lag going on here. I've been watching a lot of the remake in the background while working, and I'm playing the classic one right now, and it's a lot of fun, man. Lars, does it have something to do with keeping your rights to JESOP as well? I'm not sure if I remember it. I think Image, they just publish. You keep all the rights. I don't think Image gets anything, if I remember correctly, because that sounds like it's more in line with the founders getting away from Marvel, where they wanted to keep their own characters. They're doing all the work. The company shouldn't keep those characters. Right? Like, whatever you think of Liefeld doesn't really... I don't care. But Deadpool and stuff like that. Imagine that. Imagine making Deadpool. And you don't even have the right to that character. Okay, Jessup. It's been a while, man. Let's get your face going here. Whoops. I'm going to just turn off his anatomy here. Bear with me here, guys. It's been a hot minute. I used to have, I'm sure I'll get there, Jessup. I could draw him like to a T. It always starts with getting this round shape for the nose. Then we got to block it out. And he's got like these little squinty eyes. And the best part of Jessup is the mustache. And we're going to really flare it up this way to make him seem angry. And I don't think we ever see Jessup with an open mouth. Bring it in. Let's flip it. Just check it out. Got the little ears. Alright, now we can round out the head. He's got a little bit of chin. And then you got to give him the big old eyebrows. There he is. Welcome back, buddy. And then we're going to do his little hairstyle here. Boom, boom, boom. And it all goes back. Boom, there he is. Welcome back, Jessup. What I might actually do here is I think just crunch it up just a bit. Now, he's obviously huge, but we're going to bring that head up a little bit. Yeah, let's bring that anatomy back. There we go. Doesn't that feel good? Okay. I'm going to get the big old beefy neck. There we go. Yeah, drawing this guy always feels like home. Alessander, when we draw him, he's a big guy too, but I got to be careful. I don't like, all my heroes are massive, right? Like, they're all the Hulk. One thing I don't like about what's going on here, we're going to fix that. Since I've adjusted it, like, his arms being so pushy, we got to get some muscle over here. Chris, you're looking at it? Okay, man, you better. I think the title will be in the Book of Magni. So the title of your comic will be Book of Magni. I like it. Thor's son and his son, and the son of the son of the son. You saw your character ref there, did you? Let me see. Or is this just another way for you? Oh, where is it? Right here? We're going to be doing commissions of these guys. This guy, no. But this guy. You guys can check out Robinick if you want. Post in the chat what this is about. Share it. Share it. Let everybody know about your stuff. But, yeah, we're going to be doing a commission. He is a patron, so thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother. We're doing something very similar to like what I'm doing with Jessup, but for him and his character. Thanks for the props. Hey, no problem, man. Hey, we're all inspiring each other here, right? One big circle jerk. Okay, what do we got here? Robinix. I finally got my remake in the mail yesterday, but I have to work tonight. Actually, here, let me ask you guys this, because I've just been too lazy. Not that I haven't had time, I've just been too lazy. So, the Final Fantasy remake, right? Like, I've seen the ending. I've already checked all that out. No spoilers or nothing. But how the hell does this game work? I've heard, like, it's pieces, right? Like, I know where the end of this game, the first one, goes. How much is the remake? How much is it? Is it full price? Is that sucker like $100? And if you're in Canada, brand new games are like $100. Because my only question is, like, you know, I'm sure it's worth getting, and I hope everybody that's got it's having a great time. But if it's 3 games, is that $300, or is this thing like a little bit more budget priced? All right, what I don't like, I don't like some stuff already about this. And I gotta be quick here because I'm running out of time to get this done. Drew, welcome, brother. Also, this layout looks sick, and I would totally throw some color on it. Well, thank you, Chris. I might take you up on that. No, you got your own stuff to do, man. You don't need to keep making my stuff look better and better. What is it I don't like about this? What is it? No, get out of here. What is it I don't like about this? What is it? You know what I don't like about it? Is there's too much, like, he's too dainty around the waist here. I don't like that. Maybe what we can do to fix it is if I just take all this stuff and I just jam it in here. Yeah, that's better. Just crunch all that out. I'll figure that out. There we go. It's got to have the big upper body, but it doesn't go to be so big. So that's a problem you do, like, or at least I have when I have, like, these extreme angles. The wings, I call them the wings. The lats, you know, on these big muscle dudes. That's like where you get, like, you know, if you're drawing your cat up here and he's got his arms up here, right? And you're going into the rib cage, like, cool. But when you bring those wings out, oh boy, you start giving them some big size. And when you do extreme perspective like this, you can kind of, you lose. Actually, let's get a little straight line here, just to make it look like there's some action going on back there. We need to do something with this other hand, though. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure this out. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, Dennis, welcome, brother. Seventh son of a seventh son. There you go. Chris Jones, yeah, I like it. Robinix, more or less, yeah. Euro, okay, here we go. Euro's hooking us up. It's a full-price game. Yes, 50 something hours of fun and some fillers. Okay, but they okay, and then Robin X is saying, but they really expanded the story. Yes, no, I do know that. Like, there's things I'm seeing where it's like, it's awesome stuff. So the content is each part is going to be as much as a full game on its own. The Midgard section is part one that you just got released, which was literally only 4 hours. Yeah, so have they? Here's my thing: have they talked about how this works? Because I feel like, let's say, I'll just say if I was to buy it. If I were to buy it, I get out of Midgard with this first game. Awesome. Can you level grind and stuff? Can you still do that? Can you just level grind until the next chapter comes out, if you guys even know? And then you get into there. Does it all carry over? Can you like max level in between these games so that you're just steamrolling the rest? Do we know how many games are coming out of this? That's one of the things I hate about a lot of things, and I'm hoping you guys can help me out there. Just let me know. Is I hate when like in something like the case of this, where you buy into it but you don't know how much there's going to be. I've gotten a lot of board games that are the same kind of thing where it's a lot of content, but you don't know. It's kind of like each month you're buying something new, and then it starts to become super pricey. You know what I'm saying? You understand? Let me try rotating this guy around. Let's see what we're doing here. Sometimes you can get like a cool anger. We'll bring him out like this. Okay, Elena's losing her mind out there. We want to fill this bad boy up here like this. Alright, we're going to do this too to like really make it pop. Make it pop, pop, pop. Go here, and then we're going to add, I think I have something, I got to figure it out. But we're going to do one of these classic kind of things where you put like a box around them, right? And they're breaking out of the box. It's almost like a comic panel, I guess. Actually, I wonder if we go here and you put his leg back there. I think I like that. No. People are paying for the character, so we got to have the character. All right, let's get the costume in here, and then let's start moving here. We've got about an hour to finish this up. Just so you guys know, I don't think we're coloring this. Usually I do with commissions, and again, what I'm trying to let people know, this isn't to be greasy or anything like that. These are $10 commissions, right? Everybody values their art the way they value it. I'm never going to judge what somebody wants to charge for their art. It's not my place. But for me, a $10 commission, as much as I appreciate it, I don't think it's any less than or anything, but I like to treat them different from like $100 commissions or something that might be $200. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'll throw color on commissions for people, like on Patreon. And sometimes, it just depends. If people have been with me for a while, then I like to give them something a little extra every now and then. And that's not to say this person doesn't get that. But this one, what we're going to do is we are going to add a layer of shading, but it's going to be the grayscale stuff. Sort of like what we did before, where it looks almost like I'm doing like a very quickish, what's it called? Copic gray marker pass. So here we got that. It's been a while since, actually, hold on. It's been a while. How does Jessup's gloves go? Oh, this is embarrassing. Jessup King. Let's bring up the turnaround. God, look at that butt. Look at that. Let's get in there. Look at that. Whoa. Whoa. Look at those buns of steel, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, we'll go here. So just a simple glove. Okay. I forgot. It's been such a while. It's been a long while since I've drawn him. I'm like, I forget his gloves the way that I drew them. And of course I drew them in a simple comic style. Because you got to draw them a whole bunch of times, so make it simple. Let me catch up with you guys. They padded out everything they could. Some hits, some misses. I don't think we can discuss this without spoilers, okay? I would be really pissed if the second game started me at square one with zero materia and items, okay? I would be too. Robinix, I don't think anything has been officially discussed from Square Enix yet. I'd imagine there's some progress that carries over, but not absolutely everything. Maybe like Mass Effect? Do you think that might sound... Does Mass Effect feel like a thing? So let me ask you this. If it's spoilers, then you can just tell me it's spoilers and then not tell me, I guess. Once you've completed this Midgar section, right? Basically, disc 1 is what I'm assuming. From like the original one. Can you level grind? Is level grinding in this game at all? Or is it sort of like streamlined where you don't have to do that anymore? Because the Switch version I'm playing right now, what's really cool, and I mean, I think it was released on PlayStation 3 like this or something like that, I don't know. I'm just a massive fan of these modern or remake of RPGs where you can speed the game up. Like old emulators, I remember somebody was saying in the last stream, could do that so long ago. But just being able to like level grind while I'm watching TV or doing something, it's awesome. It makes level grinding enjoyable. It's like one of my favorite parts. Like when I was growing up, my brother and I, we played Final Fantasy 7. I remember us trying to beat like Emerald Weapon and Ruby Weapon and stuff, and you had to grind, man. You had to grind so much, and we didn't hate it. I remember us getting the was it Game Shark? Do you guys remember the Game Shark? We get the Game Shark and we cheat the shit out of that. Just quickly here too. Normally when I use this red, it's just for costume elements, but apparently I just started fixing anatomy too. So JESOP and then got some Pokeballs we can't see. And the pattern goes like that. Goes up like that. Boom, boom, boom. He's got these cool leg things. And then something like that. Okay. I think we're good. I'll go here. I'm going to put a mask on here so that we can just erase what we want. Let me close this guy up. We don't need you. Oops. There we go. I'm just erasing a good chunk of this because it can get pretty confusing pretty quick. Once we add our onion skin layer to this, clean all this up a little bit. There we go. Alright, so if we bring that back up, cool, save it. Alright, we're going to go rough, so now we're going into Lineart. Fast, fast, fast. Go, go, go. Speed it up on your paper. Let's go. Alright, we go here. Lineart. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? Lineart. Now, how thick is this Lineart? Nah, it's good. It's perfect. Perfect. Square one. Oh, he's always squatting, man. Don't you worry about that. Sorry, Robinix. Also, I'll say before we got derailed, that Final Fantasy VII talk, yes, I'm very much looking forward to you drawing my hero. Thank you, man. I hope I do it justice. Please let me know if you guys could hear me chewing. I'm muted, but I want to make sure. The last thing I want you guys to suffer through is that sound. Alright, I'm going to have to increase the size of this. I'm always looking at the side here, guys, for the chat, as well as the second monitor we got going. That's like a much more condensed version of this, so when you're working on like something like the face here, I'm going in there at detail and all that. But when I look over here, I can see if it reads. Super important. Dennis, did you hear that Clip Studio is moving towards a subscription-based model on Windows and Mac? No, I have not. That would be devastating. I own a, I think like everybody, like I have an actual disc copy. So worst case scenario, if that's how I have to install, I would say too, and I mean this isn't, I don't want to get all like whatever, but if it does go into subscription, like I'm probably done with the software, or I'll just continue to use an older version as long as I can. Sorry, I understand why a business would want to go the subscription route, but one of the things I remember recommending Clip Studio about or for was you just buy it once and you're done. Everything's subscriptions these days now though, so I could totally understand why they would or why they may consider doing that. It makes me wonder though then on iPads, like the iPad Pro, like it must have sold really well for them to consider putting that on PC, or Clip Studio is not doing that great, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? You can grind, sure. Okay. Is it the same grinding in this one, or is it not really needed? Like, are you leveling up materia and stuff the more fighting and stuff you do? What I like about Clip Studio, like Procreate, I don't think there's anything wrong with Procreate. I haven't really messed around too much with it. Uh, one of the things I love about Procreate is the fact that it can record, or pretty much records everything you're drawing. Uh, so like Chris, he posts a shitload on Instagram. People love watching process. I love watching it. If you got process videos, I'm watching it, man. But Clip Studio to me, like I come from this on like a desktop, so my workflow is very much in Clip Studio, right? I don't work in Photoshop anymore, so that's why I have the subscription myself on iPad, but I don't even really use it on the iPad, which sucks because when I want to use it, it's like if I don't have that subscription up, I'm like just burning money. It's stupid. It actually makes me not want to use the software. You know what I mean? But maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe there's a good chunk of people that like I don't know, they don't care and they just have a shite load of cash or something. I don't know. Okay. Something with it being a cross-platform license. Okay, that would be different. Like well, see now I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Create now, sleep later. Welcome, man. Thank you too, brother, for mentioning me in your review. It was a great review, by the way. I like your whole setup you got now with the lighting, the overlays. It's looking very slick. He's saying I would consider and have always paid when they move to proper new versions. That is what they should do. I agree. Stu man, welcome, man. I haven't seen you in here in a while too. I've seen all these old faces in here. You guys are killing me. All right, let's keep going. Let's get this massive foreground element. Do you guys want to? You guys let me know. Do you want me to add a small window on the side here so you guys can see the image zoomed out? Or do you guys care if I'm zooming in and out? Nick, welcome, man. Yeah, Nick's talking about the yeah, that's the ass part right there, man. He's saying his friend basically has a subscription and then went to a place or the internet went down or something, and Once you have no internet to confirm you've got a subscription, right? Boom. You can't use it. Now, if you're a professional, right, or you know what, scratch that. Even if you're not a professional, if you've got something you're working on and you're not able to access those files, like, that's brutal. I'm not a fan of subscriptions. The only, in general, I would think subscriptions are different models for everything. Example I'll give you guys is Marvel Unlimited. Like I'm not, I don't know. My underwear don't get wet for Marvel comics really anymore. There's a few artists that I follow, but I don't have the same excitement for Marvel like I did growing up. That's a whole different thing. But Marvel Unlimited anyway, for like I think it's $100 a year. Could be wrong, which is a lot of scratch, right? But think you're about 6 months behind what's on the newsstands. The newsstands. I love that phrase. People still go to newsstands or comic shops. 6 months behind that. So for people like me, I don't care. That's fine. But there's a nice backlog of things, and I use it just gather and reference, and it makes. I'll tell you this. For me, like with the Marvel Unlimited app, it makes comics very disposable. Like I don't value, and this might sound horrible, but I don't value like a Marvel comic like I did growing up, where every month on my pull file I would have a rotating catalog of comics, and I would read them multiple times. I don't really ever do that anymore. And on Marvel Unlimited, it's just like Netflix and stuff where I can just fly through shows so fast where it's like I don't even like. I would argue I don't appreciate it like I did when I was growing up reading comics or watching movies and shows. There's just so much out there now that if something doesn't keep your attention, it's like no cost to just dump it, move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? Which is actually pretty. Maybe it's not scary, but it's definitely interesting for people like us who make content. You know what I mean? I'd like people to check out my crowdfunding book when it pops. Read Jessup King, that's still up there, but like I'm fighting with things that want your attention. We're all fighting with that. And when I see it, even when in the things I'm doing, I don't know, I get a kick out of it. No problem zooming, sweet man. Lars, I don't think it matters. It's fine without the extra. No, cool, right on. Blackman, welcome, brother. If you look at the actual Clip Studio, the assets page and not in Paint, on January, February, April 9th, 2020, announcement about the usage plans. It all talks about the licensing. Xander, welcome, brother. I'm a bit disappointed I can't buy CSP for iPad rather than subscribe. I am super bummed out about that too, man. Eric, welcome. A problem with subscription models is that if they decide to pull the plug, the content is gone, right? Unless you get to download stuff. Exactly. That's the part that I hate. If it's not there for me to just boot up. Although, and I mean, unless Windows I know changes all the time, but still have Clip Studio or Manga Studio 4. So during the apocalypse here, if the absolute worst happens, maybe we'll be in luck. Maybe we have to go back to good old Manga Studio 4. Now, if you're like a iPad Pro user or something, I mean, God be with you. You're kind of pooched. Well, we're probably all pooched in that case, but you know what I mean. All right. Let's keep it moving. Oh, see, Dennis, you scared me. You gave me a heart attack there. Every time I see muted, I always think I hit a hotkey by accident. Xander, I'm still using Photoshop CS6 rather than pay for CC. I don't even know what version do I have. Do I have 6 as well? I have CC 2015. Whatever that is. For the same reasons. Sorry for the sniffles, you guys. Alright, I don't know what the hell's going on with this shoulder here, so let's see if we can kind of fix that. Let's give it a big old shape, and then we just kind of BS some muscles into it. Go ahead and put a bicep. Fudge in some more anatomy here. That's how you do big bulky anatomy. You just kind of make it up. Alright, let's get rid of that. We'll go this way. There we go. Got some overlapping anatomy. Although I don't know if I like... Looks too... How you say weak. So we'll do this. We'll bring this in here like that, and then we'll just... There we go. Better. Although... I'm going to kind of bring this back a bit. Hold on. We'll fix this. There we go. Nice big beefy forearm. There we go. We'll go here. No, just BS some more anatomy. That's the best anatomy, my friends. This is why I don't really draw women. Or like non-buff dudes that often. Because you kind of have to care a little. Not care, that's the wrong word to use. But you have to be a little bit more... There's got to be some finesse. Big bulky anatomy is so much fun to draw. Like, it's still got to make sense, right? But you can get away with so much. Just some little expression. At least that's what I like about it. Or maybe that's just the excuse I give myself to draw poorly. I don't know. It's probably that. Alright, we're almost done here, guys. We get to go to the fun part, the inking. We get to add in some shadows and some rendering. Got a big old knee here too. So you can see I'm like drawing through what I already drew. Nothing's final, right? Just go ahead and I wouldn't recommend ad-libbing like this as much as like I'm kind of doing with this, but sometimes you gotta, you know, if something feels right, do it. That's one thing I noticed with this workflow. And if you're interested in this, I haven't talked about this in a little while, but check out the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawn Comics by Freddie E. Williams. That's where he talks about how I'm drawing. I learned not what my art looks like necessarily, but the process of getting to the finished image through that book. He talks about it in Photoshop, but it's pretty much the exact same thing in Clip Studio. But one of the hard transitions I've heard people say, and I was this way too, is it doesn't feel like a natural way to draw necessarily, especially if you're used to doing tight pencils and then coming in and just like adding pressure sensitive inks over top of your pencils, right? So like what you guys saw me doing earlier, and you can still see it under the line art, this red line. That's what I consider currently my pencil stage. So when we're doing what I'm doing here, this would be this is my tight line art, right? And then we're going to ink over top of this. So along the process of doing this, there's always a room for just go ahead and add something. You know what I mean? Don't just copy what you have there. Always add if you can, because what that's going to do, at least it has for me, is it's just another opportunity to maybe go, all right, well, maybe we can inject a little bit more life into this picture, you know? Because it can get stiff when all you're doing is drawing in like what I'm doing right here, where it's just a flat line. Like, look at this. Like, it might be whatever, but it needs some punch. It needs some depth, right? You need some, which we're going to do now. But that's what I'm saying. You can blow out like things that you might have drawn just to fix them up a bit. Let's go here. Where did I have this? I think I still have it. Textured line. That's what we want. Now, can I apply that to a rectangle? All right, let me lock this before we go in here and start messing with stuff. Brush shape. Yes. Spray? No. Laced ribbon. There we go. All right, let's open up our settings here. All I want to do is just make a textured one. So it's in here somewhere. Try to find it. Brush tip. Stroke. Texture. I don't know. Concrete? That sounds fun. Texture density. Let's go max. What I'm trying to do is just break up the exterior lines so they're not so perfect. Maybe concrete's not the way to go. Maybe. Let's see. Oh. No. I don't like it. All right. Actually, what are we doing here? Let's pretend to be an artist for a second. And brush pen dry. Yeah, that's what we're using. This is what we're going to use the ink anyway. Maybe we can hold shift and see what that does. Kinda. Texture brush. There we go. Get some meat and potatoes on here. All right, so it goes here. Boom, 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 boom. I'll paint that in. How's that looking? Cool. All right, so we'll do that, and then we'll fix some of this up. No worries. Let's see. Sorry, let me catch up with you guys here. Okay. Hey, Kurt, welcome, man. How are you doing? I hope you're well, man. So I'll shrink this up a little bit. It's looking a little too thick. Let's just adjust this a little bit more. I don't know if I dig this anymore. We'll leave it for now. We'll see how it goes. It's supposed to be more for like just a design element, right? I hope that muted. Or your poor eardrums. Oh no, what happened? I think I deleted some layers. I drew that layer on there like a numbnut. Okay, cool. Alright, so we're going to duplicate this, call it inks. And just double check to make sure all of our lines, like we talked about a little earlier. So you can see, like when you zoom in here, like look how nasty these lines are. We're going to clean most of this up. Right, when we get into our inking here, trying to hurry this up so we can make sure that we finish it on time. Working from home, good man. Glad you're still working and everything's going good. How's Two Geeks Talking going? Is it still going strong? I imagine not being able to go to conventions might be hurting. Let's do like Skype calls or something like that. PJ, welcome, brother. Xander, did you ever play the Battle Chase? I did. I didn't really care for it, to be honest with you. I was expecting more. I don't know why. It just didn't. The story felt, to me, it looked like Battle Chasers, but it didn't feel like Battle Chasers. I don't like a lot of the reviews and stuff I've talked to. I think I'm alone on that. So maybe my memory of what Battle Chasers is and ended up being are two different things. But it's okay. I'm glad they did well, though, right? If I did Jessup King like 10, 15 years later as a video game, and people enjoyed it, then, you know, that'd be awesome. All right, let's beef this up a bit. Sure, looks good. All right, let's ink. Okay, so before we ink, remember, I'm trying to get into the habit here. Since we're adding shadow and stuff to the work now, I grab a big old silhouette brush, make it red, just because that's my setting there. It could be blue, and just quickly testing in some shadow placements. One thing I'm noticing as I've been doing this is I tend to add more shadows than I think I would normally add. Probably because it's this big fat brush. So I can quickly go, okay, there you go. And you gotta lighten it up a bit. So maybe we just do like a top-down kind of thing. That might work. I don't know if I like the shadows around the hands, but that's okay. Do another one. Maybe if we shade to the light source is coming from the left. And I don't like doing. I'm trying to add shadow here, and you guys will see as we once we get it inking, which will be soon. Like cast shadows too much. Really, what it is if you guys remember my art from way back in the day, the heavily shadowed stuff. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the over rendered like Finch kind of shadow stuff. I think it looks good, but I just don't enjoy it. I feel like it takes so much life out of it. It makes it more real or dramatic. And I'm trying to get more into, I guess, action might be a better way of saying it. Just, I don't want your eye to get stuck on really complicated, beautiful artwork. Does that make sense? I'd rather, it's just there to help move the story along. If that makes sense. Oh, you felt the same way, Xander? Okay, so it's not just me. All right. Yeah, let's go with the second one. I think I like this one. All right, so what we do then is I go over here and I grab a piece of software I have, which is on all windows, called Snip and Sketch. Just click New, and then I just drag over. Just taking a screenshot, right? I don't need it anymore. And then somebody showed me this in the chat. If you're in here, I forget. And I apologize, but thank you. You can actually do this in Clip Studio. Go File, Create New from Clipboard, and it'll just make a new document, just like it would in Photoshop. And then I take this, and I'm just going to move this to my second screen here. That way I can have this, and it's always like a guide for my lighting. Actually, let me make a layer. I'm just going to darken that a bit, just so I can see it a little bit better. Okay. Then come back here and turn it all off, and let's ink. So the first thing we do with inking is, as you guys can already tell, what I love about working this way is the speed it gives me, because I'm working in steps. Like, okay, so we did the thumbnail, then we're going to the roughs, then we blew that up and turned it into tight line art, which you saw. Then we go into the lighting, which I quickly added. Then we're going to go into, now I know where the light direction is coming from. I'm going to add the line weights. Then once the line weights are done, then I add my brush pen, which would be the heavy shadows, and then we add rendering with a micron. So it's very procedural. I find myself that I'm able to work quicker that way, as opposed to sort of a little bit more organic style drawing, I would say. Where it's, okay, so once the pencils are done, I'm going to have a whole bunch of tools and what feels right to do this and that. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, for me, I felt that I get too caught up in brush settings and things like that. Okay. And the line weights, all we're doing is we're just thickening up. Usually wherever the light's hitting, or the opposite of where the light's hitting. Whoops. And then just draw in white to fill the areas where you need to clean things up or anything like that. Larry's saying he misses the heavy black inks and the Finch stuff. You're not the only one who has said that, my man. It's all good, though. Here, what I'm going to do here, because I'm flipping around a lot. Was it this one? Where did I have it? This one. Yeah, that one. So I'm just going to put, right, our light source was, there you go. I notice when I start flipping around a lot, I start to lose where my light source was. Yeah, one of the I know you've said it a bunch of times. It's fine, dude. Everybody's got like their thing they like, right? It's all good. Uh, I mean, I have a lot of reasons for leaving that style behind, that look. One of them, one of the main reasons was just things just started feeling like they all had to be real. I think the only excuse, or one of the few artists that I can think of that draws in heavy blacks where it doesn't feel real and it still works, is Magnola, right? Like Hellboy and stuff. Like I can look at that and I don't feel like it's bound in reality. Where like Finch or some other cats, their art looks great. There's nothing wrong with it, but it almost starts feeling a little bit too much like, for me anyway, like those could be real people. Or I don't have anything wrong with that stuff necessarily. I just don't want to do that kind of art. Like I said before, when somebody asked me about like learning anatomy and who I look at and all that, like Bridgman and those cats, there's nothing wrong with it. But even Bridgman, like I don't think his stuff looks real. I think it looks a little bit more animated. So when I'm talking about like looking at Capcom artists and stuff, like that's what I'm talking about. I want to look at something and be like, oh, that's cool looking. I want it to make you feel something. That's why it's such a shame that I got into Kirby so late. I think it was kind of what I'm talking about, where I was more into, when I was even doing the heavier shadows and rendering and stuff. It was very much about that. Like, look how well I can draw, but when you start adding heavy shadows and blacks to your work, there's a tendency I find to make things. You're always trying to make things feel like they're real. An example would be like his gigantic badass. Why am I adding that? But his giant arm here. If I added like a giant cast shadow over this way, probably look. I imagine it would look kind of cool, but it just might just take away. Like it might make the eye stop a lot and appreciate the art. And maybe that's kind of what I'm talking about here in a really wacky way. For me, it's more about telling a story as opposed to, not that heavy black artwork doesn't do that, but for me and how I'm able to output work and stuff. The less blacks in a spot, the better. Like if I can get you to look at an image and digest what's going on and then move the story, keep going, that's all I'm worried about. All right, let's keep going. What time is it? All right, we've got like 25 minutes. So we're going to have to jam through this. Okay, I'm going to actually ink this arm with a large brush. Since it's coming at us, hopefully we can get a little bit more thicker lines. Also, you might notice, like when I'm drawing, can I zoom in anymore? No. See how I like screwed that line up? Where it goes over the line, it's not clean. I used to be super anal about that stuff, and I would redo a line over and over and over again. But now I've just sort of tried to incorporate it into the style itself, like the look, where it makes things a little bit more rough. And I also noticed once you start throwing color in there, if you're going to color, or even if you're just doing grayscaling, if you're doing anything other than just black and white line art, a lot of that stuff just tends to disappear. And I don't think people stare enough at art to really start seeing that stuff. I know 100% when I was drawing, still growing up and still learning a lot, I tried to make sure my art was, or the lines were as perfect as I could get them. I'd redraw ink lines and everything just to make sure I could hit that beat. Make it look like perfect. At the end of it all, like honestly, it's, I don't know. It's different for everybody. Dennis Magnola talked about that in an interview. Said he didn't care about real shadows. Right on. Said he didn't think about it at all, like having consistent source. Only capes. Oh, sorry. Only cares about what looks good, different. And I'm more of that in that vein. I'd rather have it all just whatever looks cool. I remember hearing that from Joe Madureira. He hates drawing backgrounds, and he'll do everything he can to not draw background. He'd rather draw badass characters, and it made me think like a lot of the learning I had from that person I've always kind of brought up was you have to make things in scenes believable, and if they're in like New York City, you got to make it look like New York City. And I still believe that to a degree, but like even like what Joe was saying and what Mike was saying, what Dennis was reiterating there is it's like, yeah, but at the same time you don't need to do that. You could draw certain things in New York to get people to know it's New York. It's probably a good thing to be an artist that can draw everything, but if you got like strengths, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I think it's something to do with just a different time in comic book art. I would argue nowadays you don't need to be able to draw everything. You just need to draw what you like to draw really well. And the only reason I say that is there's so many comic book artists out there now that like, what's going on? Why am I? Oh, hold on. There we go. I was inking wrong. Let's try this. Okay, we're gonna have to clean some of this up. And what was I saying? What was I talking about? Oh, right. That there's so many artists out there that like, if somebody's hiring you to draw everything really well, I mean, sure, that's a job that's out there. I do know like a lot of Marvel comics and stuff where it's It's great if you can draw all these things really well, or passable. It's probably where you got to go. But I would also argue with the way the world is right now and how you can get comics made. You can just draw what you draw really well, and people, if they like what you draw, like I've seen some cats that draw like sexy dudes with giant packages, right? Like not nudes or anything like that. Probably on Patreon you can get them, but you know they make comics doing that stuff too. It's probably not Marvel comics, but I think that's just like an avenue you could try to go down. But that doesn't have to be the place to go to get whatever it is you want to get. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm just rambling. Okay, do we got everything inked? Yeah, for the most part, we're good here. All right, let's save that up. So what we need to do now quickly is our shadows, right? And I have it turned on a different layer here, so I'll just turn it back on so you guys remember. So the line art, not the line art, sorry, the line weights, let me just turn it off, right? So I try to make sure that that's where the light was coming from. So you could, this is pretty much how JESOP was drawn, the whole comic, just like this, and you walk away and we could do so much with the shadows and the coloring that you don't, I found you didn't need to go in here to do anything special. But moving forward, we're just going to add a little pass of shadow. So I have my shadow or my light source on a second screen. So the shadows we do now, I make a new layer and I go to monochrome. It just affects the brush different. I use this brush pen. It's a dry pen. I've showed this before. If I go really light, it's almost like a chalk or a pencil. You go heavy, it goes solid. What I like about that is it just adds a little bit of texture to the inks here. And the last step will, well, not the last, but for the inking anyways, we grab like a micron, very similar to the tight line art brush we were using already to get the line art down there, to add some of the rendering, to break up some of the shadows. I feel like his ears are maybe a little too far out. Something about him feels like JESOP, but not like JESOP. Okay, so where's our lighting going? It's over here. Yeah, see you, Stu. Thanks for popping in, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so we can go in here, and then what I'll do too is I'm just gonna add like a couple little like I'll call them tendons, but you know, like the ripples in your anatomy, like in your pecs, how they kind of like wrap around like this kind of thing. You'll see a lot of artists will do this, but the main reason I like to do it is because it gives me something to add rendering on real quick, without adding too much heavy blacks. And what I've been trying to do with this shading technique too is like go in angles. You know, so it's like it's chiseling. It's kind of like what we were actually talking about a little earlier with Bridgman, where he draws everything in like planes, you know. Clean some of that up. Hey Gabriel, how's it going? Do you sell your brushes? On Patreon, I offer a bunch of. I got to update it actually, but a lot of these brushes, everything I would say, everything you saw me do up to this point, except the brush I'm using right now, is available on Patreon. So if you pledge even the minimum, $1, you can get them. Thank you for your consideration if you're interested in that. But yes, I will update them. I'll make a note actually after this to update the brush pack to include this. The reason why this one's not in there is I don't know if you're new to the channel or not, but I was having a crisis, I'd call it, an art crisis about like art style. What am I going to draw like? What am I going to look like? We're going a little bit more of like a Kirby style at one point and things, so it's I didn't want to update the brush packs or anything too early because I didn't know what our art was going to look like. But I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I was letting you guys know that we're going ahead with this. People seem to like it, which is good. I can hammer it out pretty quick. It's not adding too much time. And instead of worrying too much about the style, just focus more on content. And there's a coworker that used to work with me named Ted. And that's we're on the same page with a lot of things, I would say, about I don't know, work ethic would be the right way, but professionalism maybe. I don't know if that's even the right word, but there's certain things I think artists contemplate a lot about at different stages, and I would argue the younger you are, the more you worry about style. The longer you're in the game, we'll say you can you start worrying about things differently, and it's not always like younger artists worry about how their art looks, right? But generally, it tends to be that way. And I remember just going back, like, why am I having like this back and forth all the time in my head about like why does it matter, right? Because it like how your art looks, it seems like such like a what might be maybe a preteen or a teenager sort of viewpoint, right? Like where you care what people think, and usually the older you get, the less you care about what people think. And that's sort of where my style question was coming from. It wasn't like I wanted to impress people. It's not about that. It's just about like yourself, right? Like the art you're making day to day, what's it doing for you, kind of thing. So we would talk all the time about that kind of thing, and inevitably we would always come back down to like the main thing that matters is it's like you could draw in like 50 different styles, but what is it you want to do, right? Like, do you want to make comics, you want to make stories, you want to make books, whatever you want to do, even if it's prints, right? Like you need content, you got to keep making content. Unless it's just sketchbooks for yourself, that's what you do to be happy and stuff, that's different. But and really that's what it comes down to, right? So I'm like, I was going back and forth, I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do, what's it gonna look like? And all the time I'm wasting, I could just go, you know what? If I was to say, you have to make a book right now, you don't have time to think about what it's going to look like. Just go. And that's sort of the thing. I push myself to just go, stop thinking about this stuff and worry about the real more important question for me was like, what story are you going to tell? That's way more important than how it looks. And that's sort of like how Godslayer was like, okay, we're picking that, we're going, and let's go. Originally, there was and I said this before too, all my projects say God in them, but God Eyes, we were drawing a little bit of, did like a temporary cover for it too, but I ran into a plot problem where I couldn't figure out, like, how do I get myself out of this plot point? So instead of just, again, it's kind of like the style thing, well, if it's stuck right now, and I can't get out of it, just move, go, keep going. Go to the next one. And that's what we're doing. So we'll see where it goes. And I'm rambling all over the place like usual. Create now, John. Yeah, those brush pens drying. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you, Gabriel. Here, I'll point this out to you guys too. Here, if I make a new layer and I use that same brush, so this is on a color brush. Look what it looks like. And the reason I'm showing you this is you guys might be able to find some value in the brushes that you already have. So this is what it looks like how you're supposed to use it, because it kind of mimics more of a dry brush, right? But when you change it to monochrome, look at that texture it gets. And the reason I'm bringing that up is like, let's say, I don't know, let's go to, how much time we got? Okay, I really got to bust ass here. Let's just say even default pencils that come with this. So we go to real pencil, right? On a color layer, it looks like that. But if we make a new layer of monochrome, what's it look like? It's kind of close to what I'm using. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys don't have my brushes right now, as an example, just grab your pencil, the generic pencils that come with Clip Studio, click Real Pencil, and just make it on a monochrome layer. You know what I mean? So that's one of the cool things about Clip Studio, is that there's a lot of flexibility even with just the basic things that you got in there. Okay, we really gotta bust ass here. Where's my lighting? I'm all over the place. All right. Also with this stuff too, I was very worried about. You see how much things have gaps in them? Like it's not finished. It's not solid black. I'm used to, especially with digital, all these things would be solid black. There wouldn't be like these, like right in here. Look at all the white in there. But after I stopped trying to get picky with it and just going, okay, just draw through this, get to the color, and how does it look when it's done? Because I know most of the stuff I do, I add color to. How does that look? And interestingly enough, it looked fine. So I was like, okay, keep going. You can't keep getting stuck on these kinds of things. Now again, we won't be adding color to this, but I will add like a gray, which will be how I would normally add the shading. For those of you that have been here for a while, know what I'm talking about. Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support, man. Also, when we add that grainy texture over top of this, that you guys know that I've been using for a while since like JESOP, that paper texture, it really helps with like what I'm doing here, because a lot of those lines will get filled, and also I tend to blur it. There's a, like I'll do a Gaussian Blur, and then set that to I think screen or something like that. That line doesn't make sense. And when we do that, what happens is a lot of these imperfections that I'm talking about, they get cleared up right away. It's so weird, man. Like, how many people in here have worked on comics with other people, maybe yourself too, and have you noticed, or have you forgotten by the time you see it again, but when you get your comic back or your finished image from somebody else, or again, if you're the one doing it, and all those imperfections, I'm not talking about like bad anatomy that you might see or something. I just mean like stuttery lines or I don't know, maybe areas you filled in that weren't totally filled in with black, and they don't even really show up anymore, or you don't even really see it on the final image. Such a weird thing. I feel like I notice it more in digital, like when I'm working in this stuff. Traditional, I mean, it's there. You can see like jaggy lines and stuff, but digital, I don't know if it's because you can zoom in so much that you can't really, I don't know. It's hard to see. Hard to say, too, apparently. Okay, so we're pretty much done with the shadow. Let me turn this thing off. Whoops. Where are you? There you go. So if we turn that off, that's just some shadow. Then all we're going to do is I make another monochrome layer. Where are you? Up here. I was clicking the wrong thing. And then I have a micron. Where are you? Micron. Is that the right one? Yeah. And I use monochrome for this one too, just because it gives it just a little bit of texture. And then I just do these wave things. Actually, I did that wrong. Let me back up. I need to still go over the curve of the... Oops, what the hell am I doing? Go this way. It's easier. And I'll say this a bunch of times because I know people ask, or not everybody watches all the streams. So I'm a big believer in mimicking, might not be the right word, but when you're trying to learn or adapt a new style, sometimes you're fortunate enough to be able to just figure it out on your own. Also, I don't do this everywhere. I just do this in some places. But I was watching a lot of Ryan Otley. And I'm not saying he does exactly this, but I saw him doing some of these things, and I was like, oh, I got to try this stuff. And what I like about it is it gives it just enough feel of like rendering and shading and stuff like that without going too nuts. Because again, like just to reiterate, I repeat myself a whole bunch. I know. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on these images. I want to go quickish, right? We're talking about making volume here, especially if you're making a comic book. You know what I mean? You gotta output some serious numbers. Even if you're just doing a 22-page book, that's a lot of work. So the less steps you can give yourself, even when it comes down to like character design, right? Look at Jessup's design. I purposely made it simple. This is why superheroes look this way. They just go, here's a naked person with different colored skin over top. So you can draw it quick. Great. Now for that texture, is the layer mode you use, or you actually apply? Oh, you're talking about the. I'll add it in a second here. I'm trying to quickly go. It's actually textures. It's 2 layers, and they all have like noise added to them. And there's like I said, there's 2, and for whatever reason, when they're combined, I just get an effect that like I really enjoy. But really, you guys can, if you guys want to add that to your own work. You can just look online for like paper textures for Photoshop, or look for like layered Photoshop files you can download. And if you can find one that's got like the texture you want, you can just bring it into Clip Studio and adjust it. So you see these lines that I was before I drew here. Like you see, I'll do it on this one. You see this line right here? How I feathered it out this way so it looks like it goes like that. The reason why I do that is I know when I come in here, it gives me a line that I could add this rendering to. Does that make sense? So if we pull out here, we're pretty much done here. We're just going to quickly add, because I've only got like 10 minutes here. Right? So like I'm not adding rendering to all this, even though I can. I just want to add like enough to make this feel a little bit more like there's something else in there. See what I'm saying? So if you turn that off, like the rendering is very light. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's save that up. Okay, and then what we do is I'm going to put up, I'm going to duplicate all that again and rename it to gray. Open it up. I just select everything and I merge it all, and I press my magic button. Or if you go up to edit, convert brightness to opacity, what that does is it gets rid of all the white in your image. So now it's just black. As an example, I could change the color if I wanted to. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go down to that KO layer that we had. Since we already did all that work, make a new layer, and I'm just going to fill it in. I just want to see what we're working with here. Make sure it's fitting everything. Okay, it is. Oh, see, it's not. Our selection breaks here, so I'm just going to erase that. Maybe just make it a little darker so I can see everything. Make sure everything is in there. What I'm making is a clipping mask. What that means is I'm just making a shape here, right? And then I'm going to make layers for a layer for the shadow, and it's only going to fit inside here. So I'll show you what I mean. So we've got the shape we need. We're going to make it white. And I'm going to move him down, actually. I don't like him being, he needs to be in the middle, somewhere like that. And I'm also going to add one more thing. I know I'm saying that a whole bunch of times. Let's go here. Let's grab our inking brush. This is just a staple of mine that I like to do. Right? We got to have that debris. We got to have it. It just adds like a little bit of extra. This is a Joe Mad thing. I've seen him do this all the time. Ever since I was a teenager, I was always like, yeah, man, you add like this rock stuff. It just makes them feel like they're moving, like they're a little bit more alive. To me, anyway. Alright, let's just take a look. It's just rock. Just movement. Okay, so go in here, boom. So that's white. So now when I make a new layer, if you go up to here, click this button, click to layer below, what that does is if I pick, like, we'll say gray or green, and I'm going to go down to my color flats, and I can scribble as much as I want outside here. It'll only stick to what's inside of this guy. So I'm going to go up here. I've got neutral gray Copics. I like this one. It's kind of a blue color. You guys probably, I don't know if you remember me drawing this stuff before. Actually, let's draw. No, that'll be fine. Just make it a bigger brush. And we're still going to use the same light source here, okay? Yeah, man, post that on Twitter when those patron dry brushes are updated. I need to sub anyway. Nope. No problem, man. Thanks. I'll probably do it like either this weekend or Monday. Alright. So I know where my light source is, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Like if I know I'm going to go in here and do this sort of thing, I don't want to add this in black because it just flattens the whole image to me. Whereas if I just go in there with a simple shadow like this, it does all the same heavy lifting that drawing that would have done in black, but it leaves the image a little bit more clear. At least that's my intent. Hopefully when you guys look at this you can see more. And it reads better. Because that was always my the criticism I got all the time. Was my stuff was hard to read. There's a lot going on. Let's zoom out a bit. I'm just trying to go with big, bold shadows too. I don't want to get in there too much. Alright, like just a simple knock that in. And I might lower the opacity of this because I'm looking over here on the second monitor and it does look a little dark. So go here. Maybe we'll add like a little bit of shadow to these guys. And the last thing we're going to do after we do this is use our watercolor brush to blend some of these lines. That's like the big trick I like to do to blend everything together a little bit. Alright, so most of the complicated shading is almost done here. I'm going to do this here. I do this all the time, especially for these simple drawings, right? Like we can come in here and all of this we can just knock back into shadow. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like it's far away from us anyway. And this is how we'll be doing Godslayer as well, guys. Very similar, except Godslayer will be in color, but the same rules apply. The only difference between what I'm doing right now and fully colored pieces is I just have a layer of flats underneath these shadow layers, and then I just set this shadow layer to multiply. That's it. And then there's like some effects we'll add to it, the color balance layers and stuff like that to kind of harmonize the colors a bit. But for the most part, it's really just this. See ya, Euro. Thanks, man. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? All right, so we're gonna come in here like that. Again, trying to worry about getting those. It's mostly just planes we're worrying about getting in here. How's that looking over there? Cool. All right. Now we're going to add a little bit of shadow down here. I know in our initial shadow pass, I didn't put any shadow down here because with lights hitting, but it still looks like it works because I did end up adding a little bit of shadow in the inks. Okay. Almost done. What time is it? Yeah. Come on. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Okay, I think we're good. Let me just zoom out. Yeah, I think we're okay. Okay, so I duplicate this layer, and the only reason is that I duplicate that is so that I can go back to it if I don't like what I'm about to do. That way, I always have like a version saved. So the smooth watercolor comes standard with Clip Studio. Trying to look for anything that's not a cast shadow, so like a core shadow. So I'm just going in here and it just adds a transition like that. You don't need to do this kind of thing. I just enjoy it. Way back in the day, there were people using a program called, what the hell's the name of that program? Let's bring a little light in there. Nah, let's get rid of that. Corel Painter, I think it was. It's like a lot of anime and manga artists, and I'm like, how do they blend? How are they blending like that? It just looks so good. So this does something very similar to that. And as you can tell, I'm not trying to like do everything perfect. It's just like to break up. What it's doing is it's giving me an additional way to show shadow. Like everything's got hard cuts, but if I add this to some of it, it just makes it like almost like an airbrush, right? So it makes it look like, check this out, if it goes heavy and then I can kind of bring it in like that, boom. You can kind of make it look a little bit like it's got some range to it. And again, this is all in the name of keeping things going fast, with the hope that as people look at it, they still like it, right? Like I'm still trying to appeal to taste and like good visuals, but minimizing the amount of things I need to do in order to get a piece done, so that we can again go back to the whole main point, get as much content done as possible. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm just going to also knock that back. I think it's just a little too heavy. Maybe something like that. You know what I mean? And then the last thing we were going to do is I was going to put that border back there, if you guys remember that. I don't think I'm going to do that. What we're going to do is, I think we will grab our, let me take this out of here so I can see it. I'm going to lower that and get like a texture brush here that we had. I'm just going to kind of draw this one in, this background. Current layer. Just something like that, you know what I mean? So we turn this back up. It'll still pop over it. Just to give it a little bit of oomph, I guess. I'll make another layer lastly here and grab white just to fill in these last things. And another thing too is when the image isn't white, the texture that I'm going to add on to it, you'll see in a second, you don't get to see it that well. The paper texture I add doesn't work well on just white. So we'll put, boom, throw this guy in there. Cool. Thanks, man. No problem. Hey, Johnny. See you later, brother. Thanks for popping in. Hope you're doing well. Okay, let's save it. We got 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay, we'll open this one. I just have a bunch of files that have this paper texture on there, so it doesn't matter which one I open here. So I'm going to grab those two, and we're just going to paste it on top. Now sometimes what happens is, oh, it's right size. Okay, what's going on here? Divide soft. What is this? Divide soft. Okay, something's happening with these layers. Let me put it above everything. There we go. So now you see you got like a nice subtle paper texture in there, and it just gives it like a little bit of oomph. What I might try doing is locking that and bringing this down so it's not white, it's like a little gray to get that paper texture in there. Nah, the white looks better. Maybe we could fill all that like a gray. Yeah, we're going white. Where am I going? I'm going crazy here. Okay, that's it. So cool. I'll post this on social too, so you guys can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, thank you guys for participating today. Do appreciate your guys' time. I hope you learned a little something. Lastly, I'll just hey Jack, welcome. Sorry you guys are getting in there, and I'm about to take off. But before I go, I just want to throw a couple things at you again. We opened up with this. I always delete this link, and I really shouldn't. Please subscribe to the email address, or with your email address, to my mailing list. Every month, every 2 months, I'm going to send out just a notification to let you guys know what I've been working on, as well as the main reason for this is so I can reach specific people that are interested particularly in what I do, without having to necessarily rely on other things like Twitter, this YouTube channel, other things. This is a way to, it doesn't matter where I go or what I do. If I have your email, I can send you something letting you know what I'm working on. And Godslayer is the book we're going to be working on very shortly now. At the beginning of the stream, I let everybody know that I finished the plots finally for the 48-page book. So this is great because now that this is done, we can jump right into doing artwork now. And that's super exciting because the whole project was being held to a standstill. That's we were able to get these done. So this was a great achievement personally for today that I was able to finally wrap up. But anyway, subscribe to here. There's still going to be content everywhere you're going to see. This is just more of a way to stay connected. Okay. Other than that, enjoy your guys' weekend. You know what I mean? Have a good weekend. Do what you're gonna do, and we'll be definitely be doing some streaming next week. Next week, we will be doing some chibis again, actually, of Gloomhaven. I've got a couple of the starter characters I have to finish up. Some people bought some from my Etsy store. I got all these links are below if you're interested. And I forgot that I needed the last 3 to be done, so we're gonna wrap those up. And for those of you that have been looking forward to them, I hope you're excited, and we'll get them going too. But yeah, anyway, I'll get out of here, guys. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.